Now on KGW News, Portland plays host to the NCAA tournament.
So we're definitely expecting for it to be pretty busy.
Local hotels hope it's just the start of a bustling season.
Meanwhile, struggling businesses hope office workers come back to downtown buildings soon. But even government employees haven't returned.
They should be the first back in the office because they're the ones that need to come down here and support us.
But first, as they worry about relatives in Ukraine,
every time I talk to them, I mentally prepare it's the last time I talk to them.
A Salem family is doing what they can to send help. Your news starts now.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Laurel Porter.
And I'm David Molko. As gunfire rings out and shells rain down, that Salem family is now praying for their loved ones in Ukraine, while at the same time raising both funds and awareness. Catherine Cook with their story.
Smiling faces in Kyiv, Ukraine. For Olena Sheremeteva, last summer's family vacation feels like a world away. Her mother and father are still in Kyiv, but now their smiles are gone. This photo is from last weekend.
They are going through survival at the moment because they don't know what future holds for them.
Olena, her husband Joey, and son Nicholas live in Salem. She says her parents, Natalia and Mikola, spend their nights awake in a bomb shelter and their days checking on friends while trying to eat and rest. They also connect with Olena when they can.
Every time they can, they text me, and this is the hardest part for me because every time I talk to them, I mentally prepare it's the last time I talk to them.
You know, I liken it to watching a 9/11 on her part every single day and having to live that and knowing that it's coming again tomorrow.
Olena's husband, Joey Rudisil, is Chief Information Officer at Central Willamette Credit Union. It's one of 15 credit unions in Oregon that just raised $67,000 for Ukrainian relief. Half will go to Portland-based Mercy Corps. The rest will go to the Worldwide Foundation for Credit Unions, which is also helping in Ukraine.
I'm proud of the credit unions for doing what they're doing to make this happen.
The effort stemmed from a recent meeting among several credit union executives, including Clackamas Federal Credit Union CEO Aaron Goff.
It was very moving.
They heard the Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S. speak about Ukraine's need for humanitarian aid and decided to help.
We often come together to have impact, to do things that help the community and our members. Usually it's the local community, but in this case, halfway around the world.
And as the world waits for word of hope in Ukraine, so does Olena's family.
That my grandparents still are alive, and I hope Ukraine wins again.
Olena's family hopes their story and the generosity of others will inspire more people to donate money to Ukrainian relief funds. We've posted information on several nonprofits that are helping on KGW.com. Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Oh, that little boy's pain is just heartbreaking. Meanwhile, Ukraine and Russia are engaging in another round of diplomatic talks right now, but the attacks have not let up. Shortly before dawn in Kyiv today, large explosions thundered across the city. Over the weekend, Russian-launched airstrikes killed at least 35 people at a military base in western Ukraine. It's just 20 miles from the Polish border, which is NATO territory the U.S. has vowed to defend. Russia also appears to be firing more indiscriminately at civilian targets. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is pushing Western leaders for more aggressive action. He's set to address the U.S. Congress on Wednesday. And new video tonight shows a protester interrupting a news bulletin on Russia's state-run TV. The woman held up a sign that read, "Stop the war. Don't believe propaganda. They are lying to you here." Sources say the woman is an employee of the channel. She could now face charges.
She really put herself out there, pretty brave there. Another story we're following closely, our new normal, and the first day masks were optional at most local schools. Not surprisingly, we found different comfort levels in families with this new reality. So we checked in at Portland's Arleta School and at Beaverton Middle School. Some students chose to keep their masks on, others left them at home, and others changed their minds in the middle of the day. I'm just going to say it's all okay. We talked to a school psychologist at Salem Kaiser Public Schools all about this. She said there are benefits To losing masks, teachers are able to see facial expressions to gauge students' understanding. Now, younger students can see their teachers' mouths when they're trying to sound out new words. But mask or no mask, this expert says it's about for everyone, creating a culture of kindness.
It's important to focus on positive things and things that we can control. So like good hygiene, exercise, healthy foods, getting plenty of sleep. For some people, that means wearing a mask, and that's okay.
And while Oregon's largest school districts have officially made masks optional, at least one is still waiting. That is Park Rose, which will not be changing its mask policy until after spring break. That is toward the end of this month.
Now, with the mask mandate gone, we wanted to know if more people will be returning to the office, specifically to downtown Portland. Restaurant and store owners in the city's core have been hopeful for that to happen, so their business will pick up. Pat Doris took a look at where things stand tonight on The Story.
The downtown streets are still pretty quiet for now. We found out the city is not bringing its workers back for at least a month, and a number of other companies aren't either. The city of Portland has 2,950 employees who work at several offices around downtown. Many are here at the Portland building. Well, normally. The sign on the door reads "Closed to the public." It's been that way for some time. The city tells us some workers are inside, but most are working remotely from home or other locations. Portland managers are not requiring them to come back to the city's core on a consistent basis until April 18th, and then they'll only be required to be at the office 1 day a week. It's unclear what happens after that. Each bureau can decide. I asked for an interview to talk with the chief administrative officer. The bureau did not reply. Portland State University has double the employees, about 6,000 at its downtown campus. A spokeswoman said workers returned for 2 or 3 days a week starting last September and continuing through now. At the same time, many other companies have not returned to downtown at all. The Standard building appears deserted. It once had 2,000 workers here. At its height, downtown Portland had roughly 100,000 office workers here each day. Christine Azar owns a coffee shop in downtown. She said there is more foot traffic than when COVID first hit, but it's not back to normal.
City leadership is not coming back to work. The city is open. City employees are not coming back to the office. Why is that? They should be the first back in the office because they're the ones that need to come down here and support us.
Many are calling on the city of Portland to do more to clean up the streets and make downtown safe again. Carrie Somm works to attract new businesses to Portland's Old Town district. She sees the impact each day.
Our downtown district, our Old Town district, the Northwest, it is really special. Nothing like this exists anywhere else. And it's slowly dying because folks are not coming back to work. They're not coming back to their offices. Our government officials, our city officials aren't coming back. And that has a massive impact on people who are trying to make ends meet.
On the other hand, working in Portland's core is no picnic right now. One new resident recently told city leaders her fellow employees are afraid to work downtown because of multiple problems with the homeless campers and violence. So I'd like to hear from you. What do you think? Do you feel safe going to downtown Portland? Do you work downtown now? Are you dreading going back to the office? Let me know your thoughts. You could give us a call at 503-226-5090 or send us an email, thestory@kgw.com.
And be sure to tune in for The Story every weekday at 6 p.m. for more in-depth reporting on our community and the changes it's going through.
And speaking of our community, local restaurants say one of the biggest factors that helped them stay in business during the pandemic was expanding their outdoor dining. Today, Portland announced it's keeping those plywood patios.
These places are really important for everyone to meet, have a good time, and we would have been, all 5 of my businesses would have been closed without this help from the city.
How's that for a reality check? Eli Johnson owns Atlas Pizza, Dots Cafe, 5 and Dime Bar. Now, prior to the Healthy Business Program, he says he was losing between $10,000 and $15,000 every month. The program allows restaurants to take over parking spots. It was supposed to end at the end of June, though is now going to extend through the summer, potentially even longer. City Council says it's going to look at using some federal funds to keep it going for another 3 years.
Now to get you caught up on tonight's other headlines. Police are investigating racist graffiti at a Portland high school. Over the weekend, someone painted hate speech on the Cleveland High School grounds. Officials confirmed the vandalism in a letter to school families and said the graffiti included a swastika. It has since been removed and reported to police.
Well, a Eugene man has pleaded guilty to importing and exporting hundreds of live scorpions in and out of the state. According to court documents, Darren Drake labeled some of the packages as chocolates.
Oh.
Imagine opening that box. I'm actually glad we don't have video of that right now. Court records show he was getting them from contacts in Germany, and then he sent them from Oregon to other states. The scorpion shipping operation could land Drake in jail for a year, and he faces a $100,000 fine.
I know you're not big on bugs, David.
Not my thing, creepy crawlers.
And the former superintendent who was fired abruptly by the Newburgh School Board has landed a new job. Dr. Joe Morlock will take over as Woodburn superintendent. This is video from a protest in support of Morlock last fall. Following his firing and a handful of others across the state, Oregon lawmakers passed a bill requiring school boards give 12 months notice if they're going to fire a superintendent without cause.
Well, an Oregon mother and businesswoman is being remembered tonight for her many contributions. Melanie Ward died in an ATV accident on her property earlier this month. She owned and ran popular country coffee stands across East County. Hundreds of comments and messages have been pouring in to support her grieving family and her staff. We spoke to her sister Tatum, who just opened a new location last week in honor of Melanie. She said her sister's passion for people helped many grow together in both business and family.
It's kind of cool that she not only made a great life for herself and her husband and her twins, but she also was able to share that with the 3 other franchise owners, including myself.
That's great. She's an owner as well. The family's going to have a private funeral tomorrow, then a public memorial in Boring at Good Shepherd Community Church. More details, including a call to shower Ward with flowers during her memorial. That's in the article on KGW.com. Melanie Ward was 30 years old.